Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Commander Deck Tech. I am Toti from channel Seraphim, and today I'm bringing you a Progenitus deck list. So the idea here is, this is kind of just a 5-color control good card kind of deck. So I chose Progenitus as my commander because he's going to be basically what wins us the game. He's just going to be a big finisher. We're going to take control of the game and then just drop the Progen and kill people with commander damage. That is what we are going for. That's our game plan. There are many different deck lists for a 5-color control deck, or rather, there are many different commanders that you can choose. I think the two most popular ones are Progenitus as a finisher, or Child of Alara as a kind of board wipe, kind of reusable thing. Yeah, they're both acceptable alternatives. I went for a Progenitus because A, I like the finisher, B, I like Progenitus, and C, I don't like so much the destroy all permanent effect from the Child of Alara. Creatures is cool, but we're going to have a lot of artifacts and enchantments that we're going to have in play, and we don't really want those destroyed whenever we want to Wrath. So Progenitus it is. So let's just take a look at the cards, shall we? So let's just go ahead and do this by color. Actually, it's probably the easiest. These are white cards. We have Eldish Norn. She is amazing. Like, all of the Praetors are pretty good, or most of them at least. And she is kind of like, I actually like her better than Massacre Worm. I used to have Massacre Worm in this deck, and if I'm not mistaken, in this latest version it's not there anymore, and now Eldish Norn is here. She is just a massacre effect, which also pumps your guys. She is amazing, and definitely deserves to be here. Then a couple of Wrath effects. We have Final Judgment and Hallowed Burial here. These are Wrath effects that don't destroy. They exile or put on the bottom of the graveyard. Hallowed Burial is especially good against commanders because it gets rid of them for sure. And then Final Judgment is useful against indestructible guys and guys that have effects when they die, which this doesn't trigger, such as, I don't know, Ulamog or those kind of guys. Then Austere Command is another Wrath effect, which is also a bit more versatile. It can destroy enchantments and artifacts. Then we have a Moat. Moat basically prevents a lot of things from attacking us, and what we want to do in this deck is just survive until we can cast our more powerful cards actually afterwards. You might think that this is kind of counterproductive because, you know, we eventually do want to kill people with our Progenitus on the ground, but actually, you know, if it ever comes to that, we can actually destroy it ourselves. We have some reusable enchantment removal, but normally this will be destroyed by somebody else because nobody likes this on the table. Then, speaking about reusable enchantment removal, Allay here is one that I normally always put in my white decks because buyback is really huge here. Like I mentioned many times before, that I don't want 1-for-1s in Commander. But then again, you do need disenchants, and it's really hard to find good disenchants that are reusable, and this is just a good example of it. Then Idyllic Tutor, I don't go so much for the tutors that put things on the top of your library because I don't like losing a draw step. But this one gets an enchantment into your hand directly, and it can fetch a couple of really important enchantments because our deck, I mean, Progenitus costs a bunch of mana, and there are a few enchantments that help us get to that mana, such as Mirari's Wake that I'll show later, or Mana Reflection, and that's kind of the base of our deck, to get those enchantments into play and ramp into our huge spells. So this is really important for that, and it can also get protection such as Moat or some of the other cards I'll show a bit later on. And finally, just a Condemn. Again, some protection against annoying generals that might be coming after you, and just effective removal. Moving on to blue then, we have a bunch of blue cards. First off, you'll see here, this is Bringer of the Blue Dawn, which is under blue, but it's actually in the kind of 5 mana, one of each color category, because that's what you'll normally be casting it for. I have, I think, 3 of the Bringers here, 2 or 3, because they are all really, really amazing, and or rather, they are all useful. A couple are really amazing. This is one of them. You draw 2 extra cards during each of your turns, and it's 5 mana and he even is a 5/5 trampler, so this guy is really amazing. If you cast him on turn 5 and he's not dealt with, I mean, he only needs to survive 1 turn, but yeah, he is really sick. Then Blatant Thievery, the old classic 3-for-1. Well, actually, this one is more like a 6-for-1 even, because it takes cards away from your opponents. So yeah, the old classic 6-for-1 is always nice. And we can recur it with some of our cards, like for example the Snapcaster Mage that you'll see down here, or Eternal Witness or stuff like that. So yeah, this is really a great card. Consecrated Things, you can't go wrong with it. Can't go wrong with Consecrated Things, just drawing us a gazillion cards. Yeah, not much to say about her, or him, or whatever it is. Desertion, Desertion, that's one. Really good against commanders. You can just steal commanders or any sort of annoying creature or artifact. It's a bit expensive on the counter spell, but it is a 2-for-1, so yeah, that's nice. Bribery, this is, even though it's this really horrible white border 8th edition version, this is here mostly because it's just a really efficient card. Like for 5 mana you're gonna get a card that is worth like or the cost like 8 mana or something like that, so it's just efficient, and you're basically tutoring for the best creature in someone's deck right into the battlefield. So it's kind of like a super green Sun Zenith. So yeah, I like this one, and I mean it always feels nice to cast Bribery. It's like opening a present. Then Muldrifter, classic Muldrifter. You can recur him with some of the creature recursion effects from the graveyard, and he draws you a couple of cards like a Divination. Not sick, but a nice card. And this one is one I recently added. I'm trying him out. Aethersworn Adjudicator. That's a cool name. He is kind of expensive and kind of on the slow side, but he does pretty much a Vindicate each turn, or if you have extra mana he can double Vindicate, which is pretty good. So he seems decent, so I'm trying him out. Then Allied Strategies, it's basically draw 5 cards for 5 mana. Glenelendra Archmage just helps protect our cards from counter spells or wraths or stuff like that. And it combos with, I mean, Persist, it'll combo with the Mikaeas that we are playing as well, getting us kind of infinite counter spells, sort of, so that's cool. Then Fact or Fiction, good old Foff, that's just decent card advantage. Collective Restraint, this is kind of like a moat ability, only much less hated than moat, I guess, because it doesn't affect everyone. It basically makes people pay, it's like a super propaganda, it makes people pay 5 mana in order to attack you in general, so that's pretty sweet. And another little cards we can go and get with Idyllic Tutor. Then where are we here? Then Hinder. Hinder and Spell Crumple are the classic anti-commander counterspells, and we are playing one of them just to have one of those. Not playing both, just one of them seems about fine. Going on with the counterspells down here, Mana Drain is pretty much the only straight up counterspell I play. Basically because it's not just a straight up counterspell. Well, I guess Hinder is kind of a straight up counterspell as well, but he just deals with commanders forever, so that's good. But Mana Drain, he makes us like a bunch of mana, so that allows us to drop, I don't know, like an Elish Norn really early or something ridiculous fast, so that's good. I just jumped over this before when talking about counter spells. Rhystic Study is an amazing card that you should play in all your blue decks because he draws you a bunch of cards. It's good enough if people play correctly, and a lot of the time people just don't. I have to say, like, over 50% of the people I've played against just don't care about this and let you draw extra cards for no reason. And when that happens, this is just sick. Then Snapcaster Mage, it gets a bunch of effects back. We can get some of our Wraths back. We can get, I don't know, Disenchants back. We can get Mind Control spells back, counter spells, card draw. Basically a bunch of things, and some that we haven't seen yet, which will come shortly. So yeah, that's a good man. Right, so black. Up here we have the other Bringer of the Black Dawn, which basically vampiric tutors every upkeep. So basically with him down we can each turn draw whatever we want. So that's pretty sick. Decree of Pain, I play this in every black deck I play because it's just amazing. It's just wins you the game most times you cast it. Just wipes the board and draws you a gazillion cards. And in case of a hurry, you can cycle it, so you draw a card, massacre everything. That's just a great card. Mikaeus is one of the ones that I am starting to play in each of my black decks as well, just because he has so many abilities and they are so great. So he protects you from human generals or humans in general, which is great, and then he pumps all of your guys, and the most important one, he gives all your guys Undying. So he combos with stuff like the Persist guys, or just protects our good guys, like for example, yeah, this guy as well. Geth, Lure of the Vault. Now that I think of it, I'm kind of surprised that I am not playing the Shield Dread, the Black Praetor. I guess I removed her in the last version. Anyway, Geth, Lord of the Vault is a good card to use, a good mana sink. We are going to have a lot of mana ramp in this deck, and this is something to use with that, so he's pretty sweet. Burial Rites, again, one of the new cards I'm trying here. Just seems like a pretty decent 2-for-1, especially if we have such great fatties. Then another Wrath Effect, Indemnation. Phyrexian Arena is one of the classic card advantage spells. Grim and Demonic Tutor are essentially the same thing. They let us go search for our good cards whenever we need them. Our red is fairly small here, just Shattering Pulse, the other version of LA. Same idea as LA, just with artifacts. Then moving into green, Green Sun Zenith is basically another tutor that can get us this guy, Primeval Titan, that I'm not even going to say anything about because he's amazing and should be in all the green decks. He can also get us an Acidic Slime or some of the cards I'll show here. Mana Reflection, this is along with Mirari's Wake, one of the two double your mana enchantments, which is really important in our deck because it lets us cast our Progenitus for five lands basically, because otherwise it gets quite uphill to cast him. So he's pretty good. Acidic Slime, also a classic in green decks. All Sun's Dawn, this one is pretty good. It's like a super restock. Basically in this deck he'll get you anywhere from 3 as a worst case scenario up until 5 cards. He will so regrowth up until 5 cards, so it's pretty sick. Then a bit of a ramp here in Sky Shroud Claim is just a better explosive vegetation, and also fixes our colors because we can get our duels, because it gets forest and puts it into the battlefield untapped. So yeah, as good as you can hope for. Our other ramp spells are 3 Visits, Farseek, and Nature's Lore, which is kind of the ramp suite that I use in all of my green decks basically, just because they also get you the colors you need. They fix your colors. Oracle of Moldaya is another green staple. Just ramps you and gets you some card advantage. And then the card I'm missing here, well, Eternal Witness, no need to say anything about her. And then the other one is Scavenging Goose. it's just graveyard hate. We don't have that much of that here, but this one is pretty good at it. And it's also fetchable with green Zenith, so that's pretty cool. I went with this one over Necrogenesis, because, well, this one is easier to kill because it's a creature, but this one costs less mana to activate, and it exiles any sort of card, not only a creature card. The Necrogenesis is searchable with an Idyllic Tutor, but this one is searchable with a green Zenith, so that's kind of the same thing. Same thing there. And I mean, this guy, it's kind of a disadvantage that it's a creature in some scenarios, but he can also he can get in for some damage, but that's not really relevant. He can mostly be a blocker if we need that ever. So that's why I went for him instead of Necrogenesis. Then moving on to our multicolored spells, Pernicious Deed is it's Pernicious Deed, just a board wiping effect. It's kind of like an Oblivion Stone, but easier to control. So it won't blow up your Mirari's Wake generally, unless you want it to. So I like it. Also, it's one of my favorite cards. So every time I can play it, I do. And Coiling Oracle. I like this card quite a bit. It's kind of like Sakura Tribe Elder. It can ramp you or get you a card, so it's good in any case. And this is pretty much the all-star of the game, Mirari's Wake. It's just like a cheaper mana reflection and also pumps all your guys, which is not at all irrelevant. The standard, or let's say, the scenario this deck is hoping for is to drop turn 5 or let's say turn 4 with some ramp Mirari's Wake, and then the next turn you can drop a Progenitus, just because with those 5 lands you can get 10 mana. And then the +1/+1 ability is actually very relevant because it makes your Progenitus kill people with commander damage in 2 hits instead of 3, because it takes 21 commander damage to kill someone. So that's what we generally go for. So this is the best card of the deck. That's why this is actually pretty much the reason why we run cards like Idyllic Tutor here. Then moving on, Mimoplasm. He's just a good card. That's why he's here basically. He is graveyard removal, and he can reuse some of our creatures that have come into play abilities or just good abilities. And yeah, he's just good in general. We don't have ways to abuse him like an actual Mimoplasm deck, but he's there just for the value basically. And moving on, Nicol Bolas, pretty much the best Planeswalker in my opinion, because he +3, which is quite a bit. He can disenchant, so basically destroy any artifact or enchantment, or even Planewalkers actually. That comes up less often, but that's also a possibility. And or like annoying lands. He also gets control of a creature, so that's very important. He can steal a general. And then his ultimate is obviously sick, but you're generally going, like, bouncing between these two abilities. I don't think I have ever ultimated with Nicol Bolas. Then here, I'm not going to even say this name, Mariki Reberit. Yeah. This is also one of the new cards that I'm trying. It seems decent. I mean, if there are commander decks that are based solely on this card, I think it's a fairly decent card to try. I mean, if it doesn't get killed, I mean, if it gets killed, that's fine. Someone wasted a removal or used a removal on your 3-mana spell. If not, it can steal creatures and then kill them and do a bunch of nice stuff. Then yeah, we don't have that many ways to abuse it, like to be able to untap it, but it's still a nice card. It's what I'm trying. I don't think it will be in this deck by the final version, but I'm just seeing how good it is. And then another one of the all-stars of the deck is Conflux. Well, it's not an all-star, but it's like it generally ends the game if you cast it. So it's 5 times Demonic Tutor. So yeah, basically searches for a card of each color. So moving on to the colorless cards, we have engineered explosives that basically we have 5 colors, so it can blow up anything up until casting cost 5, and we can recur it with some of our utility lands. Then legacy weapon, I like this quite a bit as well. If you have Mirari's Wake or Mana Reflection down and you play this, basically for 5 lands you can exile 2 permanents, and then what you do is basically you just take control of the game until this thing is destroyed. You basically pass with all your mana up all the time, and you exile 2 permanents per turn, and they eventually have to deal with this or they die. Yeah. Then Mind's Eye is one of the card advantage cards I like. It draws you, assuming it survives, 3 extra cards on average each turn, so it's pretty good. Solemn Simulacrum, he is pretty much a standard card in every commander deck, so yeah, not much to say there. Etched Oracle, this guy's pretty good. I mean, he's for 4 mana, 4/4 that you can sacrifice to draw 3 cards, so it's pretty decent. I mean, not insane, but it's like what's the card called? Like Harmonize on a stick, which can block, kill a creature. Yeah, it's just good. Then Crystal Shard is pretty decent. It lets us reuse some of our cool coming to play utility cards, like, I don't know, Eternal Witness, Acidic Slime, those kind of things. And it also protects our guys. So yeah, this is a really nice card. Soul Ring is a classic. And then Kozilek, he is basically here just for the draw 4 cards effect. This is generally I don't like running Eldrazi's if I can avoid it. But this guy's okay because he is fairly easy to deal with. Ulamog, I'm a bit I'm a bit less happy playing him because he's hard to deal with, and if someone can't deal with him, the Annihilator, what does he have, like Annihilator 6 or something? I don't know, or no, maybe 4 or 5. Anyway, Annihilator is really annoying. I really dislike play or facing land destruction in Commander, and that's what this guy basically does. So he's not so cool, but he draws 4 cards, so he's in here. Then moving on to the lands, there's not much to say. We basically play all 10 dual lands, a couple of basics. We play like 3 basics just in case someone gets a Blood Moon on us, and a couple of these, not all of these Sanctum style effects, but I think we play like 3 of them. Obviously Command Tower, but the idea is we play all 20, not 10, all 20 dual lands, so the originals and the old ones, and then a bunch of searchers, and that's our mana base. Then a classic like Reflecting Pool and Command Tower. And then we don't have enough, or we don't have so much space for lands that give us colorless, because we do play 5 colors and we need all of our colors. So we only play the most important colorless lands here, the ones that give us the best effects. So Volrath Stronghold is one of the best lands in the game. He recurs your guys. Academy Ruins is the same thing for artifacts. Not as powerful in this deck, but it can recur your engineered explosives. Vault of the Archangels is basically here because of the life gain. There are some points in the game where you have your Progenitus out, and I mean, you finally get to that point, but you're kind of low on life, maybe 10 or something, because you've been taking a beating, and that's what happens with control decks. And this guy allows you to attack and then gain some life and make it really difficult for decks to finish you off or race you. And Dust Bowl is a standard card to take care of annoying lands. And then Maze of Ith, because you can search it up with a Primeval Titan, and it's good protection. So, this is then our deck here. That's what it looks like in the end. This is the mana cost. It's kind of on the high side, but the basic idea is in the first couple of turns you ramp into hopefully a Mirari's Wake or Mana Reflection, or you can, with one of our 3 tutors, you can search it up, and then you drop either one of your Game Ender Fatties or Progenitus, which is basically the same. So yeah, let's take a look at some games then, and let's see how this deck performs.